Let It Be was released in May of 1970, right after Paul McCartney announced that he was leaving the Beatles. The original album instantly became a classic, even though some fans labeled it as the album that broke up the Beatles. It was simply undeniable that even at their worst, that they were still the best band in the world. However, for Paul McCartney, this album was always a bad memory, mainly because for him, the work of Phil Spector didn't reflect the actual energy of the band in the studio. Phil Spector had a very defined production style. Choirs, horns, and orchestral arrangements are very common for him and not so much for the Beatles, so upon listening to some of the mixes for the first time, Paul was very upset. There's even a letter issued by Paul McCartney demanding Phil to take all of the add-ons off of the mix, so you can imagine how angry he really was. But no matter how angry you are, 33 years should be enough for you to cool off, unless you're Paul McCartney, because November of 2003 saw the release of Let It Be Naked. This was basically a remix of Let It Be. The album is supposed to be the real version, since according to Paul, Phil destroyed the original vision for the album. The main difference between both albums would be that the Naked version removed all of the arrangements made by Phil Spector, as well as the songs Maggie May and Dig It. There's also the inclusion of the non-album single Don't Let Me Down, which is one of the most celebrated things about the album. Upon release, the album was heavily criticized by both fans and critics who believe it was wrongly marketed, since Ringo, George, and John didn't have a problem with Phil's work to begin with. Then there's also the fact that the studio chatter and little rehearsal bits were cut, completely losing the whole live album concept. Still, the album was a commercial success, and for some fans a well-needed remake, so I guess it's up to you. If you want a more organic, less polished version of the Let It Be album with Phil Spector's blueprint all over the place, do the original. And if you want something that sounds more like a studio album with Paul McCartney's clean production style, go for the Naked version.